So tonight I caught up on the films that I missed last night. The ones during TCM's Trailblazing Women. The first night I missed a bunch of Guy-Blaché shorts because I was at work, and then I had to go sleep because it was like midnight. So I missed a couple of the films they showed late at night. So luckily, TCM has their Watch TCM app, and so you can not always, but sometimes watch content for usually about a week or so after it airs. So they were there. So I watched 7 films, which means I've already watched 12 films. It is only the 2nd of October, so I guess I'm making up for how few films I watched in September. So I started the day. I didn't quite follow the order that they did last night because I thought I got confused and I watched the wrong thing first. But anyways, I watched the Cabbage Ferry, which is just a minute long, and it's a woman, with babies in a cabbage field, and it's adorable and sort of similar to the kind of really short shorts that Milia's would make. Milia's. Then I watched The Birth, the Life, and the Death of Christ, which was a half-hour, sort of almost kind of like Stations of the Cross, but like more like a passion play kind of thing, where it was like 25 different scenes from the life of Jesus. So that was interesting. Her set pieces are always so extraordinary. Then there were 3 shorts from her is it Solex Studio. One was called Canned Harmony. There's a cat climbing things that she should not be climbing off of the frame. Cats. Canned Harmony is about a girl who wants to marry somebody, but her father won't let her because her father is adamant that she marry a musician, so her fiancé pretends to be a violin player. Chaos ensues. The next film was called A House Divided, and it's about 2 married couple who think each other is cheating on the other. So their lawyer advises them to separate, but to keep living in the same house so that people won't speculate that their marriage is dissolving. And they're only supposed to talk via notes. Obviously, chaos ensues in that one as well. I think Alice Guy-Blaché really likes to play with social dynamics amongst the genders, and that's always fun. And then the last one was a really sweet short called Falling Leaves, beautifully, beautifully filmed, about a little boy whose sister has tuberculosis, and he is trying to help her live until as long as there's leaves on the trees. So he starts like tying the leaves onto the trees so that they won't fall, so that his sister won't die. And in doing so, he meets someone who might save his sister's life. So those were the shorts that I watched. Then I watched 2 features. One was called The Red Kimono, and it was directed by, I spelled that wrong. Oops. Anyways, it was directed by Dorothy Davenport, and Walter Lang, I guess, but it says she didn't get credit for Otis Kimono with an A. Okay, anyways, I'm spelling things totally wrong, and then right. But she's uncredited, but she was definitely the producer, and I believe Dorothy Arzner adapted it, and it was sort of dedicated. Davenport was listed as Mrs. Wallace Reed because she made a handful of films after her husband died from drug abuse because he got addicted to morphine. It's a very interesting, sad story. So the Red Kimono, I don't know. It's spelled 2 different ways. I'm so confused. I'm going to look this up. Is based on a true story that took place in New Orleans, and she actually got sued for making it because she didn't change the names or anything. That's why they change the names in these kind of movies now. And then the last one I watched is an animated film by Lotte Reiniger. How do you say that? Reiniger, called The Adventures of Prince Achmed, and it's very famous. It's the oldest surviving feature animated film. There were two before that from Argentina, but they are now lost films. And The Adventures of Prince Achmed predates Disney's first feature by about 10 years. And it took her several years to make, and she created this animated system to use cutouts, and there was like lead and cardboard and all kinds of crazy shit that I didn't really understand when I was trying to read about it. But essentially, she invented a form of animation, and it's beautiful. It's so beautiful, and it's based on a few stories from 1001 Arabian Nights, obviously the Prince Achmed one, and then a little bit of Aladdin. And you can definitely see where later Disney is sort of inspired by this. There's a scene similar to the scene in Sword in the Stone where the witch and Merlin are like going back and forth between different creatures. Like that totally happens in this. And then obviously Aladdin owes a lot to this film. Kind of bizarre that Aladdin would come out and then it was another several years before this film got restored, and people still don't really know it. And I feel like that would be a really fun double feature to like show this one and then show Aladdin. I think that should happen. But in watching it, it made me really want to watch The Thief of Baghdad with Douglas Fairbanks, which I have seen twice now because that movie is delightful. So I believe I've seen everything so far that Trailblazing Women has shown on TCM. It's been great. As I work my way through the series, I've seen more and more of the films, so these videos will get shorter, I promise.